Oh, wow. Is this Fuentes story real? Like, was the guy actually after him? You about the ban that DeSantis wants to do in Florida? I don't think it's a full ban. I think they just want to do like ID requirements, and most sites, for some reason, don't want to comply with that. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is, but most of them just will straight out say no. Their stated reasons because they don't want to be in charge of that kind of private information. Yeah, that's basically what I mean, that's what they've said, yeah. Which seems fair, but... Isn't the obvious reason because ID lowers site traffic? Well, I mean, banning them completely lowers site traffic more, right? How did you get your kid to stop fake crying? My 4-year-old has started doing this constantly, and I can't tell the difference between the fake and real crying. Help, it's driving me crazy. Do you just do the same thing like how you normally discipline them? Like if they fake cry, you punch them in the face, and eventually they'll stop doing it? Or at least you'll turn the fake cries into real cries. Leave X and come to Blue Sky, yeah, doofus. I have a Blue Sky account. I post there. Unless I'm like responding to somebody else. I usually post on Blue Sky X and Threads. Where is there like link me that shooting earlier, the story or whatever. I don't know if these are violent or not. Fuentes posts a video saying the killer parked his car in front of my house and approached my door with his pistol drawn and what appears to be a crossbow. I was live streaming at the time. He rings the doorbell, tries the doorknob and yells, "Yo, Nick." At what point does Nick have a right to self-defense? I get the macing of an unarmed woman is one thing, but this does constitute danger, no? Yes, there is a significant difference between a guy showing up with a pistol and a crossbow and a woman with a phone. Musk and X are responsible for Nick Fuentes' private information spreading, leading to an attempted assassination at his home last night. Instead of enforcing its anti-doxing policies, the platform boosted and monetized millions of impressions. Death threats remained as well. On December 18th, 2024, at approximately 11:38 p.m., Berwyn police officers responded to the block of blank for a report of a male subject with a gun. Responding officers located said subject, who then fled on foot and successfully escaped from police officers. Subject then forced entry into a residence on the block of blank where he fatally shot 2 dogs. Officers then observed the offender fleeing eastbound into a yard on the block of blah blah. The subject disobeyed the officer's verbal commands to stop and proceeded to shoot at police officers. Berwyn police officers returned fire and fatally struck the subject. No officers were injured during this incident. Early reports indicate that the offender was wanted for a triple homicide committed in Mahomet, Illinois, earlier in the day on December 18th. This incident has been turned over to the Illinois State Police Public Integrity Task Force and is considered an active and ongoing investigation. Are these 2 incidents linked? 140 miles away? Wait, this is not... Wait, was this related? Hold on, sorry, fuck. No back button on this? Oh, whoops, sorry.
The day before the trial, 19 days after Eileen Burke takes office, is when suddenly they awoke that they don't have the burden of proof. Frankly, I don't buy it. Everyone can see that video. I don't think there is any world in which that's proper police.
Okay, this is something different. Police said initial reports indicated Lyons was wanted for a triple homicide in downstate Mahomet near Champaign earlier in the day. 3 family members were shot and killed on Wednesday night. Oh, holy fuck. This guy was a lunatic. Are we sure this is the same suspect? I mean, that's what the police are thinking right now, right? Jesus. All right, well. I wonder how he knew Fuentes. Or like how targeted this was, or what the fuck was going on here. Jesus. What is this?
Do it. The SSF kit is a must.
The SSF kit is a must. This is him putting the foot down 3 months ago and saying why he should not be buying it.
Oh yeah, it is 100%. So I'm pretty transparent with what we are as a family on the channel. We live paycheck to paycheck. So even something like this.
If you live paycheck to
are as a family on the channel,
not be buying it.
Oh yeah, it is 100%. So I'm pretty transparent with what we are as a family on the channel. we live paycheck to paycheck. So even something like this.
If you live paycheck to paycheck,
Who is Bunty King?
you cannot afford a
Am I talking in the background? Who is Bunty King? Is that me or is this something else? Am I going crazy?
Like this.
If you live
Oh, dono sound. Okay.
paycheck to paycheck,
Who is Bunty King?
you cannot afford a $2,000 pinball machine. There are people who are saying that this guy is a scammer for this part in particular, saying that, like, well, he's asking for money, he just bought this expensive machine, this must be malicious. No, this is stupidity. This is what at least my perspective is, this is stupidity, okay? If you're gonna live this high above your means, when you have 3 children, this is fucking frankly absurd. And I'm sorry, it's going to get hilarious.
Would be phenomenal. Like, yeah, you guys have known this. Like, $1,000 on an arcade.
I mean, like, when this guy says he lives paycheck to paycheck, is he like complaining about being impoverished, or is he just saying he's like living from like he doesn't have like savings? Because there's like a technical thing where you can say that, which is, I guess, whatever, as long as you're not like virtue status signaling over it. He had a GoFundMe for rent? Oh, well, holy fuck. Oh my God. It's just all Russia, middle guy, Russia, this lady, Russia, Dave Smith, half Russia, crazy conservative lady, and who knows where Cenk's brain is. Oh my God. A true panel of intellectual titans. Oh man.
Saying if you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully been so bitterly divided, but scratch beneath the surface of our everyday outrage, wash away the red and blue tribal paint, and there's a more interesting picture. President Trump.
Would you say you feel bad for Nick Fuentes? I feel bad for Nick Fuentes. The only thing in my mind that would influence how I feel is I'm trying to think if his community has been involved in or actively does like doxing related stuff. I feel like I don't remember Groypers doing stuff like that, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they do and I just haven't fought with them when they do that. I mean, like, if your community is involved in like hardcore doxing people and shit, then I don't have much sympathy. And whatever happens, happens. But I don't know, actually. I'm not sure. Didn't they dox Mr. Girl? No, they spam reported his YouTube channel, right? Or they might have doxed him too, I just don't remember. They doxed you during the Islam shit? Was that them or the Muslims? I don't remember. They might have. Yeah, in that case, fuck them then. I mean, yeah. Fuck around and find out, I guess.
Trump has demolished the traditional divide of right and left. A classic liberal believes in free speech, free markets, and the freedom of individuals under the rule of law. Classic lefty.
Do you have an intuitive method with which you determine if someone has reached middle class status? I want to know if I have arrived. I mean, like, all of that stuff is always kind of like amorphous. I would say in my mind, like middle class status, there's like middle class status is like being a woman or being a man, where there's like a web of ideas that are associated with middle class, and generally when you hit enough of these, you kind of like qualify for it. So like I feel like in general, middle class people are usually either working like trades or above. I think they usually have like more than probably one vehicle for a family. So like one for the husband, one for the dad. If you have like a stay-at-home parent, you're easily at least middle class, I would say. Anything involving like private schooling is at least middle class, generally. Not having to worry about like, obviously you don't have to worry about shit getting shut off because you're not paying bills. Yeah, I would say like these are the things that are like generally associated with. But I mean, it can be like, it's kind of like amorphous, right? Like it's hard to define exactly. Is the cuck mainstream media just a reflection on the mood of the country? We went red because people are mad about inflation, so should we just pray Trump fucks up enough so that they swing back blue? Yeah, maybe we might. I'm having a hard time, like, this media environment is just so bad. Like, even when I try to explain to like real life friends and shit, I feel crazy. Or I mean, I only feel crazy because I will introspect, because when I'm talking to other people, I'm like, no, you have to understand these people are all crazy. But if you think about it, when you're saying everybody else is crazy, it makes you feel crazy. So you should feel crazy, unless you're like so arrogant that you just automatically assume that you're correct over however many people. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, when I'm literally watching like ex-governors posting videos of the night sky and they think stars are drones. I don't know, man. Is middle class defined by wage or disposable income? I would say it's closer to wage than disposable income. You can make a lot of dumb choices and have a very low disposable income while still living like a pretty high class lifestyle. So like you could theoretically have a 4-bedroom house in like a decent suburb with like 2 huge cars and like go on a vacation, and you don't actually have much like disposable income because they're like obligated to bills and shit. But it's not like that doesn't mean you're not middle class. You've just lifestyle creeped your way into a lot of monthly payments. What do you think is the best way to combat this media environment from a viewer standpoint? I don't know. I think I'm still organizing my duders. I'll try to set up Loomly tonight. It's probably going to be like a full court press on like clip related stuff and trying to sloganeer. I guess the thing is that like, man, I'm going to be totally honest. Trying to I don't need to cram. Trying to study for the LSAT to see if I could get like an insane score to get like into a good law school and just like going that route actually seems like a lot of fun. The more like law stuff I look into, everything involving litigation honestly just seems like a ton of fun. And I'm like wealthy enough that I can like retire or open like a private practice and just kind of like take fun cases, I guess, because it just seems like a fun time. You guys are putting Abathurst in chat, but this would be like me retiring from streaming. This would be not me streaming at all anymore. The issue is that when I'm looking into like even the alternative media sphere, I just don't know. I feel like super on an island, and it's not like a good feeling. Like even when I look at people that I could, because I tried to consider like, okay, I understand Cenk's media strategy. You find alliances where you can find alliances, and then you kind of like build commonality from there so that you can expand to other audiences. But it just feels like I just don't know if I can compromise that much. Like I already feel bad enough over the Candace Jordan and Ben Shapiro convos. Like it just doesn't feel good. I don't feel good about those conversations. And then now to have to like try to build bridges, and it's even crazier. It's even worse. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Some states don't require you to go to law school to take the bar exam. Maybe, but they require like 200 hour or whatever like equivalent. They require tons of hours of like you have to spend time not volunteering, interning, working in like a law office or a court or something. It's fuck all that. Do you need to build bridges, at least for Piers? It feels like they keep calling you in for the content. Do I need to build bridges? I mean, I don't need to. I mean, we'll need to for what? I can always have some impact. It's just like what level of impact. Papa Sao 87, thanks for the 10 gifted subs. You and Decoding the Gurus are the most like actually look at the underlying info people I consume on the internet. It does feel like a lonely space, as those guys aren't in the activist tier of effort. Oh yeah. Yeah, those guys actually seem okay. Pretty rarely, but why do you want to abandon the career growth and uplift you've had so far to pursue law school now? It's not a law school in general. Just this media environment just feels like it just feels like insane to me. It feels crazy to me. And Or I could just like drop the Vyvanse and just go back to like more variety of content. Like bring back the drama and shit. So there's like more variety of stuff. I guess if like, as of like dove deeper, not Dovin. As I've dove deeper into like just like reading and research, like things feel significantly stupider than they were before. I guess like before, I would consider myself one of the more knowledgeable people in the debater space, just doing whatever bullshit reading I did, just because the standards are so low. But now after doing more research, now it feels like really, really stupid. It feels really dumb. Delve deeper? Oh yeah, delve deeper. Jesus. You need to work hard with Brian Tyler Cohen and that space. I haven't explored Brian's stuff enough, but the only thing I worry about is that there are like, it's hard to find people that exist in a bubble that disagree with me on topics that I would consider legitimately like disagreeable topics. So like, for instance, like, I can have conversations with people and I can tolerate some level of disagreement. But like, so Kyle Kulinski, I think, is the best example. I think that when it comes to a lot of domestic policy things, I think that Kulinski is to the left of me on probably quite a bit of it, but like, it's acceptable. Like, I think reasonable minds can disagree on a lot of stuff like that, like Econoboy. And there's a couple others like in that like sphere that are like to the left of me, but that's okay. I can tolerate that. But then like foreign policy takes come up and it's like, I can't co-sign or be involved. I don't even want to be anywhere remotely near these things. Like if somebody starts dropping these foreign policy takes near me, I have to like go nuclear. It's just insane. I think focusing on building up other people as part of a larger media company can help and be interesting maybe. Well, the problem isn't just the supply. So like I'm technically like the supply there and I can induce like a little bit of demand, but I just don't think there's not like a huge, like there's a ton of demand for what I do for like a single person. And so far, like obviously I'm successful and I do good on my own, like it's that. But in terms of like a large part of the media sphere, I don't know how much demand, like if I had to like ballpark my, trying to think, if I had to ballpark my footprint on like YouTube politics in terms of people that would be like amenable, is that the word I'm looking for? Amenable? How do you pronounce this word? To my position.
Amenable.
I don't even know how big the total space is. Like I feel it'd be like around like 1 to 3%, maybe. Maybe around there. And obviously if I'm the only one occupying that space, it's obviously really good for me. But if I just start filling it, like if the space were to fill with more people similar to me, I don't know if it's like ever expanding. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is the problem the medium, i.e. video content, is just more stupid than written? No, written content can be really stupid as well. But I mean, you always have to adapt to new mediums, right? What, like radio came out and that was a huge thing. You have to adapt to radio. TV came out, you got to adapt to TV. Like, yeah. Start evil maxing, use your death note skills to manipulate the media environment from the inside. I think that there are strategies down that road, but they're too compromising, I think, on what on what I would care to do. Do you feel a responsibility to be a voice of reason in the coming chaos? I mean, like a little bit, but also like realistically, like as an individual lone person, I'm not going to be like shifting huge demographics or swaths of people. The thing that worries me about your media company thing is I feel like you demand some ideological purity around certain issues like foreign policy that would make it hard for you to find content creators who are not just copy pasting you on everything, and then why bother? That's not true though. It's hard for me to just find anybody that just knows anything. Like there are pro-Palestinian arguments that people engaged factually that I would be okay with. Even if I would disagree with them, I'd be like, okay, sure. Like at least you're like engaging with the facts, right? Like if you Israelis came there, well, Europeans came there. They shouldn't have. 48 war happened. There's been an indefinite occupation. It doesn't look like that's going away anytime soon. Israel is arguably inheriting, or is arguably furthering, at least an apartheid-like situation, to where they simultaneously want to expand into occupied territory, but the only way the expansion into the occupied territory is legal is if it's not considered occupied territory, so they want to have it both ways. Israel doesn't represent the greatest strategic interest for the United States anymore. If we had to choose between just having Israel or having every other Arab state in the region aligned to us, perhaps choosing every other Arab state would actually be better. You kick Israel out, you get rid of a giant schism in the Middle East that turns people against the U.S., you remove a lot of the incentive for those people to not like us. There's arguments down there where, but nobody, I don't think, like I'm making these arguments on the fly. I've never heard anybody make these arguments before. They're all the arguments on the other side are just so fucking retarded. Like Israel bad, Jew bad, go back to Brooklyn. It's like, okay, you're like rope. But I'm pretty sure Lonerbox, I think that, I'm pretty sure he disagrees with me on a few things prescriptively and descriptively, on Israel Palestine, but I've never felt like he's like a crazy person, you know? Or like a lunatic or an idiot. I just want people to read. I just want people to read and then have like an underlying grasp of the facts and then fight from those grounds. That's all I want. Is that too much? That's like my ideological purity. It's just like engage with the material. I feel like you would actually just really enjoy academia. Maybe. I mean, it would depend on the space, but I'm sure academia probably has all of its own like political, like office politics, corporate politics type of stuff as well. So I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, geez, the country is just like fucking insane right now. I guess we'll see how these next 4 years go. Why do you think people avoid engaging with the material? I think that people have a view of the world that is part of like a group they belong to. And then when you venture out into the world, you're just kind of like looking for stuff that agrees with that view. So not only are you looking for stuff that agrees with that view, I mean, like it's all, I've said this many times, it's all like incentives, right? Like if you're a person and you go out into the world, there's going to be like some content that you disagree with. There's going to be some content that you agree with. And most people, because you don't have the background to like differentiate between what is like true and what's not true, because most people don't know what like the intricacies of fucking monetary policy or foreign policy, whatever. And I wouldn't expect most people to, right? So like, you know, some people might go this way, but like most people are going this way, right? And once you start getting information in this environment, once you start listening to these types of people, like you're immediately kind of roped into all of the other kind of thoughts and ideas like from people in this environment. I think this is very similar, in my opinion, to how like cults work. And it's why it's so hard to break people out of cults if they're still in the cult itself, right? Because even if every now and then they happen to bump into an opinion where they're like, oh, you know, I haven't considered this before. As soon as they finish like contemplating this opinion, they're back in the cult, right? And then they're back in their media environment where they're like getting all these, you know, reinforcing opinions from this whole group of people. And there's just not much like, there's not really any reward at any point of this. None of this is selecting for true or false. It's just selecting for kind of like what reinforces my personal, not even what reinforces, it's like what makes me happy, what satisfies me. Like when I go out and I look for content, like what do I want to watch, right? Like if I'm like I guess, I don't know, because I don't consume content this way, but it seems like it. Like if I'm like a normie political person and I'm going on YouTube, and let's say I'm a person who watches like Timcast, right? Well, I'm going to come on and I'm going to watch this.
If you're dumb enough.
And like, what am I turning this on for right now? Am I really turning this on with the desire to learn something? Or am I turning this on because I want to hear a guy say what I want to hear, right? I'm never having a belief challenged on any of these shows, right? I'm never hearing anything that's like kind of confrontational to the things that I believe. I'm using the right wing as an example, but it's pretty true of the left wing as well, right? I'm never hearing anything like confrontational here or anything that challenges me. It's just stuff that kind of like makes me feel good about myself and like reinforces my view of the world. So the issue that you run into is if you have two people that are, you know, in this environment, and one guy can give you even more things that make you feel good about yourself versus another guy, this guy is like always getting more views, even if he's not factually true. And so there's nothing about this media environment that selects for people that are more honest or more factually correct, unless the non-factual stuff or the incorrect stuff eventually like roots into something that is measurable and there's like a consequence for being unfactual, right? Incorrect. But there's not, because you can just lie about everything and nobody ever really gets caught and nobody really reduces anything to any kind of like consequence. So like, why not just keep lying? And these media environments are just so obnoxious. I think what's frustrating is the lack of genuine nuance in these discussions. Finding someone who provide genuine critiques towards Israel and the Palestinians. Yeah, but who cares about genuine nuance, right? Like you have to be like a nuance enjoyer. And it almost feels like at that point, you're just like selecting for another political bubble of things that make you feel good. And the thing that makes you feel good is like the nuance enjoying, but it's not necessarily, but like this is a small subset of people who are almost politically relevant, I guess. I don't know, it just feels stupid, but Bitcoin CEO, is this guy like a regular on the show now? God, this guy was fucking something. Okay. Anyway.
He is anti-war and highly suspicious of institutions. They support homegrown manufacturing jobs and the working class. Above all, they're very good at selling a vision of how things could be better for everyone. Right now, that all sounds a lot like, well, MAGA. Voters clearly agree. Black voters, Latino voters, young voters, working class voters, and voters with no college degree have all flocked to the big red tent. Even First Lady Jill Biden now appears to love Trump and loathe Harris as much as anybody. But the big problem with big tents...
just to remind you, because him and everybody else, they always present this as like a fucking blowout landslide victory. Oh fuck, even I've been saying 3 or 4 million. This election was like about 2.3 million votes between the two candidates. 48.4% versus 49.9%. About 2.5 million votes, or less than 2.5 million votes between both, yeah. Do you find your community much different than what you've described? Don't you think most of us are here because you align with their political beliefs one way or another, and they're here for the same reason someone would go and watch Tim Pool all day? No, I feel like my community is a bit different than that. I'm not saying that everybody is like a bastion of like free speech or whatever, but I think the difference is that one, when you come to my stream, you're not getting like, this is what progressives think, or this is what conservatives think, or this is what centrists think, or this is what whatever. And then two, I think that there are things that my community does disagree with me on, which is fine. As long as they're not autistic about it.
Is that the people who've been inside them for the longest are highly suspicious of newcomers. In a moment, we'll...
Wait, what is this?
Nah, we're not adding no animated.
Would you say Trump won by half of 1.5%? What? No, I don't think I would. That sounds like the most confusing stat in the world.
Nah, we're not adding no animated skins to Counter-Strike 2.
How did you do it when most people just watched it and not be challenged? How are you successful? One is a lot is on presentation, obviously because it's fun to watch me bully people. And I'm decently entertaining. And the second thing is there are some people that like care about particular types of discussions or factual discussions or whatever. Like, there are some people that care, but I'm just saying it's not like a large part of the media, or it's not a large part of the population. I think, yeah.
Nah, we're not adding no animated skins to Counter-Strike 2. That takes away from the aesthetic. Yeah, the skins already look good. We don't need the animated effects where you have a dragon come and reload for you. Fucking gay-ass fairy bullshit. This ain't Skyrim, motherfucker. This is Counter-Strike. We are fucking terrorists up in this bitch. We are blowing up nuclear fucking facilities.
Okay. All right.
We'll debate this and more with a star.
Dustin, you literally, deliberately, intentionally purge your community of differing viewpoints and perspectives while proclaiming that you will never believe what they believe, and the belief can be UBI and free college. No. I don't think I've ever banned people for being UBI or free college supporters, but okay.
Our panel, all of whom have copped a public backlash for shifting their positions. But I'll begin with the OG of the political trans movement, Dave Rubin, creator and host of the Rubin Report. He wants to respond to my recent interview with his former colleague, Anna Kasparian. Well, Dave, great to have you on Uncensored. So look, we had Anna on. Very interesting pivot that she's been making in the last few months. But obviously you and her have a bit of history. And in the interest of fair-minded balance, this is your chance to say what you want to say by way of response to her.
Sure. Funny, I enjoyed your intro there. I guess I did sort of get on the trans thing early. It just wasn't about my genitals.
Verdict on Piers, content god or content cuck? I mean, from a content perspective, I think Piers is good content. I think they've obviously like honed in on a good formula for their shows. I mean, from like a health of the country and media perspective, I would say obviously it's incredibly damaging. It feels, maybe there are other shows that I'm missing, but it feels like he's incredibly biased towards one perspective. And when the host is super against you and is like dictating all of the questions and dialogue, it's very, very, very hard to like get in a word edgewise or to like move the conversation in a positive direction. Yeah.
Give response to her.
Sure. Funny, I enjoyed your intro there. I guess I did sort of get on the trans thing early.
To be honest, your philosophical takes on the background process of human behavior is your best content, I guess. But then, like, sometimes people will listen to me. I just don't like, because like that whole thing that I just went through about like, oh, like people just want to have their own things reinforced and then like every single person in the world will listen to what I just said and be like, wow, that guy's super right, and then think that they're the ones in the nuanced like political view section. So it's like, I don't know. All right.
It just wasn't about my genitals. Look, Piers, you're absolutely right. What Donald Trump represents, and then I will address the Anna situation, but what Donald Trump represents right now is something that is well beyond conservative versus liberal or left versus right or anything else. It's a restoration of the American dream. It is a wide tent party that has now brought in classical liberals, not only like myself, but Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, who will be in the administration itself, or someone like...
Just to be clear, like when you talk about like classical liberalism, I think that you're generally talking about things like... you're generally talking about, I feel like classical liberalism is almost like your kind of like Bill of Rights plus capitalism. Like you're talking about like freedom of the press, freedom, like right to organize assembly, freedom, religion, like capitalistic environments where you have like, I guess like broadly speaking, when you say classical liberalism, I don't think that, I wonder if they even mention populism in here. Classical liberal parties worldwide. I don't like these political labels that are too like nebulous to like actually like iron or like pin down. Like if you would ask Dave Rubin, what is a classical liberal? I wonder what he would say, because Donald Trump is like very squarely and clearly a populist. But I don't even know if people know when they say that. I don't know. This is why I don't like political labels. I think I said this years ago. Yeah. But it feels weird to be like whatever classical liberal is, I think that that would stand in staunch opposition to isolationism and protectionism as like economic policy. Like I think that would be pretty. I think those things would be contrary no matter how you define classical liberal. But I don't even know what he means. It's just like this is like a phrase that he likes and he just says it. He's emoting.
Of the American dream. It is a wide tent party that has now brought in classical liberals, not only like myself, but Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, who will be in the administration itself, or someone like Elon Musk, who was basically a default lefty his entire life. And it has brought them in.
Like Elon Musk was a default lefty his entire life. Like, what does that even mean? Like if I were to break down, like, what did he just say here? Like, what, like classical liberals, like, Tulsi, did he say classical liberals like Tulsi Gabbard and RFK? Is that
of the American dream? It is a wide tent party that has now brought in classical liberals, not only like myself, but Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, who will.
Like, what is the political alignment between the three of those people? Like, what is he saying anything at all?
Be in the administration itself, or someone like Elon Musk, who was basically a default lefty his entire life. And it has brought them in conversation and in government and in culture with Republicans who tend to be more for the old institutions and more for, let's say, pro-capitalism, things of that nature. This has created a pro-America movement that I think almost everyone in America can get on board. Now, as it pertains to Anna, yes, I was part of the Young Turks Network about a decade ago. We were very, very good friends. She was invited to my wedding. We hung out all the time. I did see her on your show about 2 weeks ago.
Well, for those who didn't, let me stop you there, because for those who didn't, I want to play two clips. One, this is for those who may be coming cold to this. One is a sort of mashup of some of the things she said about you before. Then I'm going to play a clip of what she said on.
Yeah, I feel like when people like Dave Rubin say lefty, or they used to be strong Democrats, or they used to be liberal, it feels like it feels like what people mean is that like they didn't hate gay people 10 years ago, and that's it. And as long as that was like, as long as you had that, then you were like a hardcore Democrat, a hardcore lefty, a hardcore, like, it's like, that's it? Is that, I don't know. One might say that Bill Maher, for example, is a classical liberal rather than a classical, or is a classic liberal rather than a classical liberal. Oh, I don't even know what the distinction there would be. Unless by classic liberal, you just mean like an old school Democrat. Bill Maher actually is one of the few guys. Actually, Bill Maher and Sam Harris are two guys that stand pretty independent politically, I think. I respect both of them for that. I think I disagree with Bill Maher on quite a few things, but how can we be sure we're on the right side? How can half the country believe in such unhinged shit? I'm starting to doubt myself, LOL. Well, I mean, the first question you would ask is like, well, is the other side presenting like legitimate arguments? It seems like the obvious answer is no, because when you do any research whatsoever on any of the talking points, they fall apart immediately. Then the second question is, well, can anybody challenge that? That seems like the answer is obviously no. All of these people are very conflict averse and will not have any of their beliefs challenged. Then the third question to go deeper would be, do you have some kind of epistemic flaw? Like, is there a way that you research or arrive at truthful statements that is like somehow fundamentally flawed? The other side probably hasn't even asked this question before. I don't think the answer there is yes. Nobody's able to provide a counterexample. So yeah, I don't know.
This show 2 weeks ago. So let's watch the two things.
He was lazy when he worked here. He's lazy now with his ridiculous show where he proves time and time again that he doesn't know anything. He has no political identity. He is not an honest actor. He is not an intellectual. He is a fraud. But if you are someone who considers yourself libertarian, consider the fact that Dave Rubin is a public figure who represents you, and he doesn't actually genuinely believe in your ideology. And he's going around the country embarrassing you. You need to at least know your shit and know how to back up your argument. Even if it's like a BS argument, you need to have an argument. Yeah. And he doesn't even he doesn't even do the legwork to be a grifter, right? Look.
Watching you helped me realize a lot of my opinions weren't fully based in fact. Lay DOD audit. It's helped to watch you, and I'm more confident in looking up info before jumping to conclusions. Well, that's good, I guess, yeah.
Look, I don't know, maybe I was wrong about Dave Rubin, but I just felt that he, first of all, after he left TYT, he did lie about us, and that bothered me because we were still friends, and I didn't understand what was going on. He did leave on good terms, so it was weird. And, you know, he kept saying that he was this classical liberal.
Like, now this isn't fair to Anna because I'm literally just going by clips that Piers has, but like, so was that the reason why you trashed Dave Rubin? Is because he was mean to you, or what? Is that really it?
We're still friends, and I didn't understand what was going on. He did leave on good terms, so it was weird. And, you know, he kept saying that he was this classical liberal, but had trouble defining what that meant and had trouble reinforcing or at least backing up some of the claims that he was making about, you know, his newfound identity.
Why is Rubin getting so much attention recently? I thought he felt like it would go hard and no one behind the scenes could stand him. I haven't heard about the behind the scenes thing. He has fallen off pretty hard. I don't know if he's getting so much attention or if he's just been on a few Piers shows. Hold on, let's speed through this real quick. I'm curious. This was 7 years ago. Why I'm still a liberal. How many times is he going to use the word freedom? 7 years ago, what was happening? We were in 2016. 7 years ago, why I'm still a liberal. I believe in freedom. I just think that the left doesn't stand for freedom anymore. The right stands for freedom. That's my guess for what the whole video will be about.
For the last show of 2016, let's unpack the two words that everything circled back to for me this past year: classical liberalism. We've had many conversations on the Rubin Report focusing on classical liberalism and how this political philosophy is different than both progressivism and libertarianism for subtle but important reasons. For those of you who are a little late to the party, classical liberalism can be defined as a political ideology that values the freedom of individuals, including the freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and markets, as well as limited government. It developed in 18th century Europe and drew on the economic writings of Adam Smith and the growing notion of social progress. So as you can see, freedom is right at the top of the pyramid of importance to a classical liberal. You have freedom to practice any religion you want or none at all. Freedom of the press to hold the government accountable, freedom of assembly to protest those in power, and freedom for the markets to move the economy. All of these are vital in the eyes of a classical liberal. These ideas are rooted in the liberty of the individual and a limited government. Of course, when you say things like liberty and individual and limited government, these words are usually thought of as libertarian or conservative ideas. This is why some of my critics say I'm actually a right-winger. I'm not bothered by this charge because it doesn't even make sense if you understand the original meaning of liberalism as I just laid out. When people say to me, you're not a liberal, what they're really trying to say is you're not a progressive. I'll get to more on that in just a second.
Like this like fighting over like what the words mean. Like, yeah, we use liberal for Democrat and we use conservative for Republican here. Those are just like, it's just like common parlance. It doesn't, like, why are we trying to say that people are trying to attack? Like, that's why I hate the political label shit. I think like around this time period when I got into politics, I think I was like very much against political labels. I think the thing I used to say, and it's kind of true, that basically as soon as you give a political label, you have to spend like 2 minutes saying all the things that you're not once you've given that political label. Like, oh, well, I'm a progressive, but I don't believe like in the crazy trans stuff, or I don't believe in this, or whatever. Like, oh, I'm a conservative, but I don't necessarily support Trump, and I'm not necessarily in favor of this, or blah, blah, blah. Like, it just feels like, what the fuck is the point of these?
A true liberal is for gay marriage because they believe a gay person should have the same rights as a straight person. A true liberal is pro-choice because they believe it is the right of the woman to do with her body as she sees fit. A true liberal is for legalization of marijuana because you should be allowed to smoke whatever you want in your own home. A lot of this sounds like libertarianism, which I know is scary for a lot of card-carrying liberals to hear, but this is exactly where we can start building bridges to a new political center. So what then is the difference between a classical liberal and a libertarian? And how is a classical liberal not on the right? There's a couple things at play here. First off, there's the dirty little truth that classical liberalism is technically more a part of the American right because of the importance it puts on individual freedom. I know a lot of liberals don't want to hear that or believe that they could be part of the right, and I also know that the left-right paradigm is rapidly crumbling as the two-party system is becoming more archaic. The reason liberalism became so identified with the left is because of social liberalism, which took over in the mid-19th century. For a while, this brand of liberalism worked and helped tremendously, causing huge social change like equality for black people and for women. At some point, though, social liberalism changed from judging people on the content of their character, as Martin Luther King Jr. professed, to instead judging people on immutable characteristics like skin color or sexuality. This was the shift that liberalism made to progressivism, which places the group over the individual, and ultimately, in my opinion, isn't very progressive or liberal at all. By judging people as groups instead of as individuals, the minorities within a minority will always be thrown under the bus. This is where the social justice ideology came from, a liberalism which was rooted in the amorphous term social instead of the clearly defined word liberty. That's why being liberal these days, in the classical sense, has very little to do with being on the left.
Is there something wrong with his lighting here? It's just very even and very dead. There's no contrast or shadow.
Anymore. Silencing dissent, deplatforming speakers, hurling unfair charges of racism and bigotry aren't liberal ideas at all, although sadly they've become part and parcel of today's left. As I often say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and I have no doubt that most progressives believe they are correct in their thinking. So it's our job as liberals to show them where they've gone awry. Then and only then can true liberalism be part of the left again. As I mentioned before, I love the convergence.
Do you agree with everything he's saying? What's even wrong? He's not saying anything. He's not even wrong. He's not saying anything. It's just like quabbling over what the political labels mean, or everything is just a waste of time.
Classical liberal and libertarian ideas because it shows that two different ideologies can come to the same conclusions if they're based in individualism and liberty. So if you're a liberal who's for gay marriage because you want gay people to be treated under the law, that's just as good as a libertarian who wants the government out of your personal life altogether. There's many other places where you can apply this line of thinking, which begs the question,
that's not even true. But
what's the difference actually between a classical liberal and a libertarian? I've discussed this with a few guests in my partnership with Learn Liberty and would recommend that you check out my interviews with Steve Davies of the London School of Economics and Randy Barnett from Georgetown University for more on that. Long story short, classical liberals do see some valid role for government to the ends that it enhances human freedom. Libertarians, for as much as you can define them, are a bit harder to pin down on this notion. Speaking of Learn Liberty, we're continuing our partnership with them this week, and joining me is author of 17 books, 17 books, economist and former professor of English, history, economics, and communications at the University of Illinois at Chicago, Deirdre McCloskey. Deirdre also happens to be transgender, transitioning to female over 20 years ago. We'll talk about her journey both personally and professionally and how individualism, liberty, and freedom are the keys to a prosperous economy and a rewarding life. As we look towards 2017, let's refocus on freedom, liberty, and the rights of the individual. The voices trying to tear us apart have made it very clear that they're only going to get louder and angrier. Russia and fake news are not the problem. We are. Only when we look in the mirror and are willing to challenge ourselves to be more tolerant of other opinions.
Okay, whatever.
So, Dave, there we have it in all its inglorious fashion, all the digs she had at you, then what she said on mine, which she herself, of course, was pivoting. What's your response?
Well, first off, I should note you don't have 10 years of videos of me saying anything about her, because we did leave on good terms. As a matter of fact, when I told her I was leaving, we went to Cenk on Melrose. I took her out for sangria, and she cried because I was leaving, and I was bringing my producer with me. But putting that aside for a moment, if I can't explain any of my ideas, well, somehow this became a New York Times bestseller where I lay out all my classically liberal beliefs, and I've discussed them with you many times, and I believe in laissez-faire.
Don't they have like 20 different categories of New York Times bestsellers? I feel like if you can sell like 100 books, I wonder if I could have a New York Times bestseller. It just feels really easy to, like...
Economics, and I believe in individual rights and all that. But what I would say, I think she's a little...
Oh, no. Am I making this up? Or did we read part of this book a long time ago and he like fucks up, like he's trying to explain philosophy and he fucks up like the difference between like validity and soundness or something? Did we do this? Am I like, it was just like some stupid part of the, am I making, does anybody remember this? Where am I? Old fans.
A little confused and perhaps was lied to.
Oh, no, that might have been Molyneux's book. Never mind. Okay, just kidding.
By her employers about some of my behaviors or something like that. But I love the idea of anyone going through their own political evolution. You know, one of the things is that people go through it often in varying speeds. So I always say some people swallow the red pill and some people snort it, right? Some people just wake up overnight and they fully see it. I think one of the things that you have to do when you wake up is realize that many people have gone through this before you and that you might have wronged some people on the way there. So I was very glad to hear her say that she might have been wrong about Dave Rubin. Look, all it takes, honestly, like I know you know this, Piers, you've been in this game longer than me. You don't get any apologies in this business, and I don't like making things really about myself in that sense. But genuinely, if there was a mea culpa there or just a simple apology, maybe I didn't see things right about you, Dave, or whatever, I would gladly welcome anyone. And I don't mean to make this about her. If you're waking up to the ideas of liberty and limited government, especially post-COVID and seeing what this ridiculous Democratic Party has become, and you want to agree to disagree and dive into the ideas and have that battle, I will do that with absolutely anybody. So look, an apology probably, I would say, would be warranted, but I don't sit there and wait for it. And I think there are much bigger forces at play here than just the interpersonal battle of two people.
Out of interest, I mean, if I could make it happen, would you debate her?
Yes.
Uncensored?
100. I said that on my show after we played that clip. If she, I'd be happy to do it with her live, just the two of us in studio. If you want to be the host or moderator, I'll do it under any condition, because again, I think there's something, I think it now represents something that could be unbelievably good for America.
Yeah.
Like she would, of course he would love to debate her, because they wouldn't have an actual debate. It would just be a giant circle jerk. Like when, oh my God, what was this disgusting fucking conversation? It was, with Glenn Beck. This was insane. This was just an unbelievable conversation. Oh my God.
Progressives who have called everybody racists and bigots and impugn motives. I mean, people just watch that compilation right there. Always going after people in the worst nature. If you've now woke up, and from what I understand, I've seen some of her tweets, she's now being attacked the same way she attacked me. So I would say, much like Bruce Willis said in Die Hard, welcome to the party, pal. But we can be on the same side, even if we still have political disagreements. Okay, we don't agree on the marginal tax rate or the immigration rates or something like that. If you love America, if you think this place is fundamentally good, if we still have a country that will offer more opportunity for any other place and you want to be part of that, yes, whatever the circumstances are or the moderator is or isn't, I'd be happy to do it. But if it's you,
why would Anna be doing these things? Is it a different tactic, or is she just mind broke? I don't know. I think I've kind of abandoned the mental models that I have for people that work in this space, or they're very much like in flux right now. I'm not actually sure. I don't know how much she actually believes versus how much is like a grift versus how much is like she got bullied, so now she's changed, versus how much is like she just wants to make money off of the current environment. I truly don't understand now. I don't know. I'm not sure if any of these people are genuine at all. It's hard to say.
That would be great.
You know, what's really interesting about what you just said, I totally agree with you, by the way. But if you look at Trump's picks for his cabinet, for example, they are so diverse in terms of their views, right across the board. I mean, if they all got together, they'd be arguing about all sorts of stuff, which I'm all in favor of. This kind of, rigid ideology where you have to all sign up to one.
Do you believe that the truth will ultimately prevail, or is it over? I mean, the truth will always ultimately prevail, but that's not always like a good thing, or that doesn't mean that the outcome is like the best thing. Like, for instance, let's say that we decide that we can build a platform over the ocean, and that platform can only hold 1 million people, and then we ship 10 million people to live on the platform. Like eventually the truth will prevail, but I mean the truth is going to be all 10 million people drowning, right? So I mean like this
viewpoint about everything. There'll be people in there that completely disagree with RFK, for example, about some of his views. Good. Have that debate.
Course.
Have that debate. This is what democracy is supposed to be built on.
Of course, this is the beauty of what Trump is doing right now. And really, you can connect that so deeply. I mean, I would recommend anyone go back on YouTube. You can find Donald Trump on Phil Donahue or Oprah or a whole bunch of these shows back in the 80s, and he sounds like a Democrat. So Donald Trump is not a traditional conservative. I would actually argue that Donald Trump's own political evolution
I'm like this, like these guys are having a political conversation that's like 8 years out of date. Like these guys are acting like they're talking in 2014 on the end of like Obama's administration. Like, okay, like Democrats and Republicans. Like, no, these political lines don't even exist like this anymore.
Probably Piers is much more in line with guys like you and me than say George Bush or Dick Cheney or someone that might, you think of as a sort of standard bearer for republicanism. So the fact that he is now going to bring in people who quite literally were running against him for president only 6 months ago, RFK Jr., and someone who ran against him for president on the other side, Tulsi, only 4 years ago, that shows you what's bringing them together. What's bringing them together is a love for America, a realization that we have been on the precipice of giving away the most precious, beautiful experiment in human history on how to free people ever. And I think Donald Trump actually now sees that. I also think that post-assassination attempt, I think he has a renewed fervor and sort of realization of what his...
Do you think that they're having that out-of-date conversation on purpose, or they believe it? I just don't think Rubin is. I don't know who would even. I don't know why anybody would watch Dave Rubin. I don't know what the appeal is at all.
Role in life is, and that's the opportunity that, again, not to make this about Anna specifically, but anyone that's going through a wake up. We know so many people have woken up. I mean, look, for me, I think it was 2016. I did that Why I Left the Left video for PragerU. You want everyone to get there the day you do, but you have to be gracious when people come around one way or another.
Yeah. Well, let's bring in my other panel members, because some of them are definitely going on a very interesting journey, including new MAGA enthusiast Cenk Uygur. I said that deliberately to wind him up. The host and founder of the Young Turks, libertarian Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem, Lindy Lee, the DNC Finance Committee member and advisor, and former woke activist turned YouTuber, Amala Ekpunobi. Well, welcome to all of you. So, Cenk, I mean, many people saying if you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully fledged member of MAGA before we know it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no chance of that. I'm not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud who changed all of his positions and is totally useless and it shouldn't even be on here. He's just a waste.
So, like, I want to say based Cenk, but I don't even know if this is like Cenk fighting Rubin politically or if he just like personally hates him because of like the history at the Young Turks and everything, you know? But
absolutely no chance of that. I'm not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud who changed all of his positions and is totally useless and it shouldn't even be on here. He's just a waste of space.
Wow. Really? After what all Dave said about coming together?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've got no interest in coming together with utter frauds like Dave Rubin. So, brother, you telling me...
So, like, how do you square this away with all of Cenk's rhetoric recently about, like, oh, the MAGA people, we can align on things? Like, is this just, like, a personal beef? Or, I don't know, let's...
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've got no interest in coming together with utter frauds like Dave Rubin. So, brother, you telling me that when you were on the Young Turks, you were Mr. Progressive and you agreed with us 100%. Now, all of a sudden, you agree with Trump 100%. You're not saying something nuanced like we are. Hey, you know, when the guy gets shot at and he puts his fist up, that's courageous. When he does the McDonald's photo op, it works fine, no problem, right? If he wants to cut the Pentagon, great. Those are progressive positions. Anti-corruption, progressive position. Anti-war, progressive position. But you change all of your ideology overnight and you expect us to believe that that's real? I don't think it's real at all. And I want an apology from you for all the crazy, outrageous lies that you told about the Young Turks. When is that going to happen, huh? When are you going to admit that you changed all your positions for money? Okay. Well, what position do you still have that's in any way a so-called classic liberal? You fraud,
Dave.
Piers, it's barely worth responding to this ridiculous buffoon who's the joke of the industry. But yeah. I will say this, Cenk, I haven't spoken to you in 10 years. I haven't spoken to you in 10 years.
Fraud.
I don't think he's a fraud or a joke. I think Dave Rubin is, for what it's worth, I think Dave Rubin is one of the most influential and significant voices out there right now. And I admire his honesty about the journey he's been on, Cenk.
Piers, I appreciate that, but the thing is, what Cenk just proved is exactly what everyone in America, and I would say all over the world, is getting over. Nobody wants what he just offered up there. Not only does no one believe it, and he had it prepackaged and ready to go, and it's complete drivel. Yes, I sold out. It's just it's so nonsensical. Again, Cenk, I'll gladly send you a signed copy of the book, and you can read all of my thoughts. And if you're anti-corruption and you're anti-war, you should be on the Trump train. But your endless hatred, the division that you so
like, this is like all a performance, right? Like, is he going to respond to a single thing that Cenk said? Not only is he not going to respond to anything Cenk said, Cenk's not going to probably follow up on it. He'll do a different attack, which I don't blame. That's not Cenk's fault. That's how debates work, or your mind, like, you're going for it. But Piers isn't going to force him to answer. He's not going to answer, and then it's just like, you're just like screaming at each other.
Calling everyone racist and white supremacist, all of that stuff, it's why you're not respected. But I don't mean to get into the personal side of that. I'm talking about now.
Like, who did Cenk even call him racist or white supremacist? Did I miss that?
everyone racist and white supremacist, all of that stuff, it's why you're not respected. But I don't mean to get into the personal side of that. I'm talking about now something that culturally has shifted, and everyone can see the grift that you're up to trying to sort of dance with the thing, but it's just not necessary, and I don't think that many people will buy it.
Well, Cenk, let me put to you, Cenk.
Okay,
Laura, hang on, Cenk, hang on. I'm going to read you something just to see your reaction. But Laura Loomer called you out on X, as you know, and she said this: "You are the radical left, Cenk Uygur. You're a con artist and an opportunistic grifter who's gotten rich off demonizing President Trump, calling us."
Like, we're citing, I'm sorry, political analysis expert Laura Loomer? Really?
Supporters, fascists and Nazis, promoting open borders, glorifying Hamas, and pushing conspiracy theories about Trump for 9 years. If you want forgiveness, get on your filthy knees and pray to Allah, because you aren't welcome on the right, and you aren't ever going to find redemption, no matter how hard you pander. And she goes on and on. Because you aren't welcome on the right, and you aren't ever going to find a redemption arc, no matter how hard you pander. And she goes on and on. I'm going to keep calling you out every time you try to move an inch closer to many on the right, because you're too dense and too dumb, because they're too dense and too dumb to decode your subversion, but I'm not. So look, there are lots of people on the right who think that you're on some great.
Are we just going to like kind of move past the, okay, Jesus.
Move here to, as she puts it, wiggle your way into the middle and over to the right, so you can then poison MAGA with your, as she puts it, subhuman political takes. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay, so look.
Notice how Rubin said, I'm not even going to waste my time responding to what Cenk just said, because nobody wants that. America rejected that kind of rhetoric. And now he just read Laura Loomer talking about how Cenk needs to get on his knees and pray to Allah. What the fuck? Okay.
This is, people like Laura Loomer and Dave Rubin are the exact problem. And I think actually somebody else on this panel knows part of the solution. That's Dave Smith. And I want to come back to that in a second. So when you have people like Dave Rubin switch all of their positions, what happens is when you go to do nuance and you say, hey guys, hold on, let me explain. Hold on. Yeah. Hey, go pleasure Trump again.
Ooh, they're giving him the destiny treatment. Rubin's mic is getting cocked.
Again. Go pleasure Trump again.
Do you know that
he goes from Bernie to Trump and pretends. Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
I tell people what I believe.
What do you believe in? You believed in something yesterday. You don't believe in anything today.
Yeah, what position? What position do you think I hold that I don't honestly believe?
Can I answer the question?
Yeah.
Can I answer the question? Can I answer Trump?
Yeah, what position do I?
Okay, we have a particular question. That's good. A pointed question. Okay, Cenk needs to provide one position that he feels like Dave Rubin has switched on. One position.
Say that I believe that I don't really believe. Go ahead.
Brother, you went on Fox News with Tucker Carlson. You went on Tucker Carlson on Fox News and said gay people, that the fact that the fire department was recruiting gay people was why there was forest fires. You're a national embarrassment, okay?
Wait, let him answer that. Was that true? Did you say that? Is that an acceptable position? What did he say? Let's find out if Cenk is summarizing that correctly. Dave Rubin, fire department, Tucker Carlson, gay people. Oh, they covered it.
So that's a great point, Anna. I just last night.
As wildfires rage in the state of California, Dave Rubin has decided that as a person currently residing in the state, he is going to go on Tucker Carlson's Fox show and show everyone that he can make anything about identity politics.
PG&E strikes me as almost a metaphor for the destruction of the state. So here's the utility.
This guy was going on Tucker Carlson 5 years ago? Jesus, okay.
Which doesn't really...
Go back, and one video down was the original clip. Oh, this?
And he joins us tonight. So, Dave, thanks so much for coming on. You moved to California because it's a beautiful place, and I agree with that. You've seen it really degrade in the time that you've been there, but PG&E strikes me as almost a metaphor for the...
Just as a quick thing, I don't know if this is going to be a hot take for Californians. If you move to California and you go to live in, I'm not trying to be mean to you, but if you're going to live in San Francisco or LA, you're not moving to California because it's a beautiful place. You're moving there for work. There are a lot of beautiful places in California. The massively huge cities are not those places, okay? So if you go to LA or you go to San Francisco, you're going there because you're going for work and because of the opportunities to connect with people in a network. You're not going because it's a beautiful place to live, because if you were, you would not be living in these two places, all right?
Destruction of the state. So here's the utility, which doesn't really know anything about its own infrastructure, but knows everything about the race of its employees. How did we get there?
It's just unbelievable. Look, I've been in LA. I'm in LA right now. I live about a minute away from one of the big fires that's still going. I have friends that are evacuated. Los Angeles, putting politics aside, in Southern California, might be the most beautiful part of the United States. Yes. The problem right now is that everything from academia to public utilities to politics, everything that goes woke, that buys into this ridiculous progressive ideology, that cares about what contractors are LGBT or how many black firemen we have or white this or Asian that, everything that goes that road eventually breaks down. It is not how freedom is supposed to operate. What is supposed to...
I think one of the big issues that I have with media too, and I've like changed my framing on this, is like everything that's presented as like basically like a political law is actually just like the most baseline hypothesis ever. Like, oh, okay, so you think wokeness ruined fire departments because of affirmative action? Okay, fine. That can be a hypothesis. Okay, sure. Like, give me something. Go do some research on that. Is there evidence of people being hired who were not qualified? Are they lowering the standards for women? And now there's like a fire truck that fucked up that couldn't like, I don't know, spray the hose right? Like, give me, like, you have to do something with that. You can't just give me your, well, you can because it's media and there's no standards, but like, you can't just like give a hypothesis like that. Like, oh, it's the wokeification of everything. Okay, but is it actually? Like,
that everything that goes that road eventually breaks down. It is not how freedom is supposed to operate. What is supposed to happen, Tucker, imagine if your house was on fire. Would you care what the public utility or what the fire company, what contractor they brought in, what gender or sexuality or any of those things he or she was? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Who would care?
And right now
we've
got a situation.
Are there like qualified firefighters that are getting turned down for the job because they're white? Is this happening? Was this happening? There's like all these unemployed firefighters who are like, we want to fight fires. And I'm like, sorry, no, sir, no Nazis today.
Of course you wouldn't care. And we've got a situation right now where we're doing preemptive blackouts in this state, which I think is the 11th largest economy in the entire world. We do preemptive blackouts because they don't want to put too much pressure on the grid. I mean, try to imagine the absurdity of what's going on here. And I hate to tell you, but we just don't have enough clear thinking, say more libertarian or conservative minded people in California to fight what the progressives are doing to the state.
But if you can't keep the lights on, and you can't keep the place from burning down, you've reached the point where there's no kind of lying about it anymore. Like, it's fallen apart. It's a disaster. It's not civilized anymore.
You know what, if I've learned...
Like, it's not North Carolina's fault, it's not Georgia's fault, and it's not Florida's fault for preparedness for hurricanes, but it is California's fault for having wildfires. Like, I mean, like, natural disasters happen. Like, they suck, and you have to be prepared for them, and, like, there's, you know, I'm curious, what did these guys all say about Texas's power grid failure, which was something that was more controllable, but from what I remember, due to the way they divvy up and sell power in that state, which is, I think, unique from every other state in the union, that has to do with like basically free market energy selling, basically like fucked Texas when there was like 2 days where the temperature was below 40 degrees.
Learned anything by living in California and Los Angeles specifically, it's that no matter what happens, ideology seems to trump rationality.
Yes,
so in the 6 years that I've been here, the amount of homeless encampments have...
What am I doing? Like, what is he saying? Ideology trumps rationality. Fires are spreading in California because of too much wokeness. Like, what, are the fires homophobic? Are they trying to kill all the gay people? Like, what do we even... From what I understand, departments are looking for more firefighters. I feel like I have heard the severely understaffed. From my understanding, I'm speaking a bit colloquially here, I think basically everybody in the US except for like tech is desperately looking for, or not colloquially, but anecdotally, I guess. I'm pretty sure every industry in the US is like desperately looking for workers. We have like a starving economy for workers where we are desperately looking for people to fill positions. Thank God we're about to deport 20 million of them.
Ideology seems to trump rationality.
Yes,
so in the 6 years that I've been here, the amount of homeless encampments have expanded. Virtually every exit you get off the 405 or the 101, there are now homeless people sitting right there, or actually that have basically built structures at the exits. Now it's like if raising taxes on everybody and
nobody in California gives a fuck about wildfires. There will always be more. Shit grows in the spring, dies in the summer, and burns in the fall every year, no matter what. I'm pretty sure around here, I'm trying to think. I don't think there were any bad ones when I lived there. But my understanding is the fire shit in California gets really annoying when you have to start doing your rolling brownouts, I think, in order to maintain your power grid because of like wildfires and shit, which seemed kind of annoying. I do think there were a lot of Californians that were complaining about that a few years ago.
People sitting right there, or actually that have basically built structures at the exits. Now it's like if raising taxes on everybody and supposedly the progressive policies that care about poor people, if these things worked, wouldn't the places that progressive policies were enacted, wouldn't there be less homeless? Wouldn't there be less gun violence? All the things that they talk about. But no, there's always more. This is not a coincidence. These policies don't work. But if you just don't really think about them, if you think, oh, we just have to throw money at things, and...
Why do you never have an example? Okay, well, what do the Republicans have? What is your positive example? Like, what are the Republican or conservative cities that we should all be modeling ourselves after?
And they magically get better while you do whatever you want to do in your life and don't want to really think about the issues, then it all works. And that's what we all have to fight. I mean, everyone across the country. Because, I travel the country often and people will say to me,
I don't want to think about the issues, so we're going to blame wildfires on gay people?
Dave, you got to stop the people from California moving here to Utah or moving here to Denver or moving here to Texas because then they bring the bad policies of California elsewhere.
Build a wall. Walls are not just for our exterior borders, but that's just something to think about. David,
great. Well, can I at least get on your side of the Denver or moving here to Texas will say to me, Dave, issues then it all works. And that's what we all have to fight. I mean, everyone across the country, because I travel the country often, and people will say to me, Dave, you got to stop the people from California moving here to Utah or moving here to Denver or moving here.
From Utah to what? And people in Denver, Colorado are saying we don't want more people moving here. Maybe Denver does feel that way. I don't know. My experience with Midwestern cities is they're usually really hungry for people to move to them or stay there and not move out. But I don't know.
Here to Texas because then they bring the bad policies of California elsewhere.
Build a wall. Walls are not just for our exterior borders, but that's just something to think about. David,
great. Well, can I at least get on your side of the wall?
Yeah, join us here anytime in this one. Good to see you tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.
Well, some candidates running for president right now in the Democrat.
Okay. Jesus.
If anyone
pleasure those guys for a living.
You can pull up the clip tomorrow if you want. I was talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that you shouldn't hire people based on their genitals or their sexual orientation. And we now all know that. You have been one of the prime pushers of all of this neo-racism. I believe in meritocracy, that whether you're going to be a doctor or a firefighter or a basketball player.
Neo-racism. Jesus Christ. What's the difference between neo-racism and racism?
Or anything else, you should be hired on your qualifications, not your genitals or sexual orientation or skin color. That's actually America. So you can keep trying here.
Cenk, finish your point. I'm going to go to Dave Smith.
Listen, yes. When this country desperately needs to unite against the establishment on things we all agree on. So things like all the populists hate corruption. All the populists hate war. By the way, Dave doesn't. Dave will demand that we start every war for Israel and pay for all of Israel's war. So he's been establishment on that all along. But when you go to say, hey, can we get an agreement on things that we agree on? The left pushes back because they're so afraid. They got traumatized by the Dave Rubins of the world. They're like, oh, if you take one step, not even in their direction, if you allow
If you polled the left right now, what percentage of the left do you think would say a female firefighter can do anything a male firefighter can do? If you polled the left, like all the Democrats in the US, my guess is maybe like 10%, maybe? Like, do you think the average Democrat is a guy who's like, men and women are completely the same? I don't know. Is there a poll for that? Also, keep in mind, men and women don't have to do the exact same fucking thing. You can have a variety of people that work. You'd rather have a weaker firefighter than no firefighter. I mean, like, what do you mean? Like,
the right wing to take. They got traumatized by the Dave Rubins of the world. They're like, oh, if you take one step, not even.
Oh my God, bro! Is this what it's like when I go on these shows? Oh my God, they're giving this dude the super Mike fuck treatment.
Dave doesn't. Dave will demand that we start every war for Israel and pay for all of Israel's war. So he's been establishment on that all along. But when you go to say, hey, can we get an agreement on things that we agree on? The left pushes back because they're so afraid. They got traumatized by the Dave Rubins of the world. They're like, oh, if you take one step, not even in their direction, if you allow the right wing to take a step in our direction, they're worried that you're going to be a fraud like Dave Rubin and change all of your positions overnight. So my friends on the left, do not get scarred by this fraud of a man. There are other people like Dave Smith, who
let me bring in Dave
is a libertarian. We disagree on other issues.
Let me bring in Dave
Smith. We can actually unite on the things that we care about.
Let me bring in just like Israel and how evil it is, and foreign policy, and we need to have no wars ever, and protectionism because that's the best thing ever. Anti-establishment, 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 which is where all five of these people are aligned, which is the true political division of the U.S. right now. It's the establishment versus the anti. It's been that way for years, and all five are on the exact same side here.
In order to unite, you got to get past the frauds like Dave Rubin.
All right, Dave Smith, welcome back to Uncensored. Obviously, things have kicked off. I actually thought there might have been a coming together moment, and not the way it went, but it's gone the opposite way.
What is this? What is the music? Why? COD 4? Why is he doing that?
Let's just take what Dave Rubin was saying and then how Cenk responded. But it seems to me that this big tent thing of Trump, I mean, it's very real. His popularity in America has never been higher than it is today. He's got an incredible mandate. The Republicans basically now are in charge of absolutely in America. Rubin was saying and then how Cenk responded. But it seems to me that this big tent thing of Trump, I mean, it's very real. His popularity in America has never been higher than it is today.
Approval ratings, Gallup usually does this. Would they do it while he's not in office? It must only be like, there's got to be like favorability ratings or something, right? Gallup, Trump, favorability ratings. Never broke. Did he ever break 50%? He didn't. This is who people say is like such an amazingly fucking high approval president. It's so cringe if people say this. But it's fucking Republicans like sycophantically were obsessed. Oh my God, it was insane. The lowest in this was 87% through all of 2020. What about when COVID hit? 87% is the lowest here. Oh no, wait, this was COVID. I'm sorry, 2020. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Oh, we got an 86 here in 2018. Ooh, 81 in 2018. Ooh, oh, because Republicans probably weren't fully on board with him yet, because there were still Republicans who were like, wait a second, don't we have like morals and principles and shit? But by 2018, they were all on board the Trump train. I wonder what Obama's. Yeah, Obama got hit from both parties. Wait. I think. Republicans versus Independents versus Democrats. Okay. In 2017, his approval was very high by Democrats. 84 was the lowest here in his last full year by Democrats. Still pretty high. 2015, his lowest was 80. Did we get to 70? 79 up there. 2014, got a lot of 70s. Damn, Republicans, single digit? What was Obama doing in 2014? They had a 6% approval rating. What the fuck? Was he genociding the fucking civilian population? Holy shit. In 2014, this is after we bounced back from the fucking worldwide, the Great Recession. Have you gone over the Trump press conference yet? I haven't. I can after this. Jesus. Republican approval ratings were higher in 2009. Favorability, people in the news. October 22nd. Presidential nominee favorability ratings on a 10-point favorability scale. Total favorable. Is this between, is this like favorable between people that support them or all of America? No, it must be people, it must be all of America, right? Because Trump is higher than 50 in the Republican Party. I'm just curious if there's like some huge shift. Technically, if his favorability was 50%, that would be the highest it's ever been. But Jesus. Huh. Okay. All right. I was just curious for a source on that.
He's got an incredible mandate. The Republicans basically now are in charge of absolutely everything. You've got everyone who formerly distanced themselves in 2016 racing down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring and so on. I mean, it's a real opportunity, but it's undeniably an extraordinary coming together of people from all types of political views and so on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say, for the record, that I like both Dave and Cenk.
So do I. I agree.
Cenk did work in a compliment toward me, and Dave, you weren't able to do that. So I'm going to be on Cenk's side on this issue now.
Dave, you and I have some differences. I've never gone after you. I like you, absolutely.
Jesus.
That's true. Listen, I don't look bigger than your guys like personal beef. I think it's what's going on here is really kind of amazing. Well, okay, but I'm just saying, if you zoom out here, I think since this last election, people are focused on this kind of realignment and the new political dynamics in America. But if you look back 8 years ago in 2016, during this election, in both major political parties, you had essentially civil wars. I mean, Donald Trump came in and took over the Republican Party against the will of the establishment and the donor class. In 2016, the RNC was floating out the idea of changing the rules, as you remember well, Piers, all the way up until the convention. They were floating floating out the idea of trying to steal this thing from Donald Trump. Of course, that same year, the Bernie Sanders movement had to be flat out cheated by the Democratic establishment. So it's not as if these things haven't been building for quite a long time. I think what happened in this election is that the thing that unified people around Trump was one, like Dave, like you said, me and you disagree on a lot of issues. I think a lot of people who ended up supporting Trump disagree on.
Okay. Anytime somebody says this, we're going to learn what their most important issue is, okay? This is what really caused it. Instead of probably inflation. But maybe he'll say the economy broadly. We'll see.
A lot of issues. The one thing that united all of us is that we opposed the blatant corruption of the establishment.
That is absolutely not the answer. Or it could be an answer, but that answer is a proxy for something else. You're just not a supporter of Donald Trump if corruption is like a thing that is bothering you. It's impossible. Or unless you don't know anything, I guess. It would just...
And the corporate media apparatus, which is nothing more than the mouthpiece of the regime, constantly in the business of lying to the American people in service of the regime. And
like mouthpiece of the regime was Fox News when they were parroting lies from Trump's campaign to try to get him reelected. But
this is what so this is how you're able to get someone, a liberal like Bobby Kennedy and a liberal like Tulsi Gabbard. And
then we always have these people that there's nothing like, where do we even have, was there a clip of Kamala Harris calling her out a long time ago? Was it in 2019? Damn, Tulsi Gabbard working that YouTube channel.
And today I'm on
1 million subs. Holy fuck. Are these the same clip that she uploaded twice? Based? Pete called her out in a debate. I thought it was Kamala. Was it somebody else? All right, it's gonna be all Tulsi get blazing over here, I guess. Jesus.
I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent full-time,
That's
who
ridiculous.
has spent full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party.
2019, Hillary Clinton suggests Russians are grooming Tulsi Gabbard for third-party run. Good one. Thanks, CNN. I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third-party candidate, Clinton said, speaking on a podcast with former Obama advisor David Plouffe. She's the favorite of the Russians. Damn. It's just so gross that like Tulsi Gabbard, who's been like this like Democratic Party hater for like a decade, or maybe not a decade, I don't know, when she started her weird fucking pro-Assad, pro-Russia shit, is like, well, look, Tulsi Gabbard likes us, so that means you're wrong. We're a bigger tent. And it's like, okay, dude.
Somebody like J.D. Vance or somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy, why they can all come together is that they all oppose the corruption that permeates D.C. that has truly, profoundly degraded this country over the last 25 years. And I think that there's, just with that basic understanding, there's a lot that people, even with very different political views, can agree on.
Yeah, Amala, I want to come to you, but I want to play a clip from Stephen A. Smith. This is where
it's always just like the most like unfalsifiable, like empty, hollow, baseless, like establishment bad, government bad, did bad things, like, wow.
Calling out people who say he's on the right because he's been criticizing Democrats. Let's take a listen.
No surprises. You're just continuing to piss me off. Why? Because every time I make a comment that's critical of the Democratic Party or the left, I get accused of being a pundit for the right. I voiced my concerns about Joe Biden and his ability to serve as second term as president. Then Biden stepped on the debate stage in late June and revealed what many suspected. He embarrassed himself. The White House and the Democrats eventually switched to Vice President Kamala Harris when he stepped away. I pointed out my concerns with the campaign and the Democratic Party along the way, and many of you wanted to accuse me of being a voice for the right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just find it inexplicable that someone like him, who's so smart, can pass genuinely constructive criticism about why Democrats got it wrong, and immediately he has to be branded a right-wing headbanger, and that's the only reason he's doing this, when in fact, a bit of serious introspection from the Democrats is obviously massively overdue. What do you think of it, Amala?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with your characterization. I think this is a big part of why they lost this past election, and it's this sort of dogmatic.
It's not, but
fervor that they have for everybody to toe every single part of the ideology that they represent. And I had a very similar experience. I used to be an extremely radical leftist. I was working for a left-leaning organization organizing students to work on all of these different woke campaigns that were circulating at the time. And as soon as I started to question the narrative or question the fabric of the ideology I was pushing, I was immediately, thrust out into the open to sort of explore these ideas and figure out maybe
okay, not to be like an asshole, but I don't think you're allowed to say you left the left or you left some political ideology if you left it when you were like fucking 19. Or maybe I'm wrong, but like, wait, how old is she? Because isn't her thing that like, I used to be a super hardcore Democrat, progressive when I was in college, and then I did a demonstration and people bullied me, and now I'm right. But wasn't this like when she was like 20 years old or something? How old was she? Doesn't anybody know? I can't spell her name because it's an insanely spelled name. Oh, here it is. Jesus. She's 24 years old. Like, when did she leave the left? What the fuck? Like, you're not even old enough to have a real political identity. I don't know, man. Like, I left the left when I was, like, PragerU, she joined when she was 20. Raised in a far-left activist household, Amala Ekpanobi was once a student organizer for the left. After a complete ideological transformation, she joined PragerU at age 20. As a leftist turned free thinker at age 20, Amala's fresh perspective made her a sought-after public speaker and returning guest on Dr. Phil. The Ingram angle on Fox News and more. From 2021 to 2023, Amala was an in-house PragerU personality and hosted our show Unapologetic, where she provided commentary on news, culture, and politics. To be fair, don't you say the same thing about leaving conservatism? Yeah, because I grew up. But I don't say like, actually, that was one thing that happened. But like generally, I'm not like, oh no, like all the conservatives left me behind. And then I became left because I had different life experiences and it changed my perspective on society as I got older. And that's generally why I aligned more with the left than the right. But it's not like I like had a big like, oh, I 180 completely because the Republicans did this. Where it was like, you're like, I'm a kid. Like, what?
I'm on the wrong side here because immediately, thrust out into the open to sort of explore these ideas and figure out maybe I'm on the wrong side here because I was with a group of people that were claiming to be tolerant, but as soon as you have an ounce of skepticism, they are ready to push you aside and label you as far right. And I think much to their dismay, what this is going to create is a group of people that feel so isolated that they are willing to indulge in right-leaning ideology, what they would characterize as far right, but at this point it's just, reasonable common sense. And as they are abandoned by their side, they're going to look to others and they're going to be accepted because we are able to explore. We are actually...
What attracts people to the truth if it's uncomfortable? Nothing. That's like a thing you have to get over. It's very, very difficult to accept a truthful thing that is uncomfortable. Most people will spend their entire lives fighting those types of things. Such as conservatives that are okay with trans people. I don't know how many conservatives are okay with trans people, what that even looks like.
Promoting skepticism.
Yeah. Lindy, I want to play a clip. This is Kamala Harris overnight. I don't know why she thought this was a good idea to come back out before Christmas as everyone was licking their wounds and almost like she was in campaign mode again. It's like, please, do not do this. But let's take a listen to what she had to say.
Get some rest over the holidays. Spend time with the people you love. I believe family comes in many forms. There's family by blood and there's family by love. I urge you then, after you have had some rest, in fact, I challenge you to come back ready. Ready to chart our path to the future. Chin up, shoulders back. Forever impatient for change.
I mean, what's wrong? What is wrong? Like, and because he's got the reins on the conversation, no one here is going to push back, obviously. And you can't even push back because it's his show. Like, what is wrong with this?
I mean, Lindy, no disrespect to her, because she's a perfectly nice woman. She would not inspire me to...
Is Cenk even going to say anything here? Probably not, because she's part of the donor class.
Open a bag of chips. I mean, seriously. And I think that she sort of personifies now goes to Christmas past, as does Biden. The Democrats have got to move on quickly, haven't they?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. She's indulging delusions of running for governor in California in 2026 and perhaps even running for president in 2028. And I just want to echo what a lot of you guys already said. This past week has been harrowing for me. This Saturday, I went on Fox and Friends and I said that Democrats have a stench of loser hanging over them.
Yeah.
As soon as I said that, there were boycott campaigns against me, unblock, unfollow campaigns. I lost 40,000 followers.
Really?
Because you went on Fox News, a literal like Republican propaganda outlet, and shit on the Democrats. You're surprised that people that might have followed you who Democrats are leaving? Like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, how fucking stupid do you have to be?
4 days. People have called me the W word. I don't know what we're allowed to say, but you can fill in the blank.
The W word. Whore? That's not good. See, if they were in Destiny's Child, they get banned for that. Woman? Weeb?
Say it. Say what the word was.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Apparently I'm a, well, they called me a whore. They called me the C word. They asked for me to be deported. And you can just search for my name in those terms on X and you'll see a bunch of them. So, all these so-called Democrats, the party of inclusion, the party of diversity, masks off. And it's even worse because they pretend to occupy the moral high ground. At least with the Republicans, they are who they are. But with Democrats,
Always remember, I called this out on one of Piers' shows, and he had no response, and they never responded, and they never will respond. Whenever you pointing to deplorable behavior on the Republican side, you point out people like Donald Trump or Matt Gaetz or Steve Bannon, like they're actual figures, or Roger Stone. But when they point out deplorable behavior, it's like these people on Twitter tweeted this at me, and it's like, okay.
Democrats, they pretend to be, so loving and caring and embracing of diversity. But all of a sudden, when I dare to utter any criticisms of the goddess, Kamala Harris, I get ostracized. Me, after having raised tens of millions of dollars for the...
You know what? I'm curious. What did she actually say on Fox News? Let's look it up. When I dared to even criticize her. I wonder what she said. Let's look it up, because I'm curious. Lindy Lee. Fox News. What appearance do you think she's talking to? Oh, stench of loser. This is what she said. This is her quote. Okay. What did she say?
39 minutes after the hour now. Welcome back to Fox and Friends. As President-elect Trump prepares to return to the White House, it is clear that the tech industry is, you guessed it, they're preparing for it too. Already, Amazon plans to make $1 million donation to Trump's inaugural fund ahead of Jeff Bezos' visit to Mar-a-Lago next week. Google's CEO is also reportedly meeting with Mr. Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Even
how old? This is 5 days ago.
OpenAI CEO Sam Altman will be donating, you guessed it, $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. Oh, and by the way, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta announced that they're doing the very same. So the question is, what's behind the shift? Here to discuss is DNC National Finance Committee.
What even is an inaugural fund? What the fuck does that mean?
Member Lindy Lee. It's interesting because I think a lot of people are saying they're trying to get ahead of what could be more regulatory restrictions on them and maybe a bit of a microscope on their operations. What do you think's behind all this?
Kevin, it's great to be with you.
Also, this looks suspiciously like the donor class to me. Is anybody going to call that out? Hello? Could you imagine if you had this lineup for Democrats? What the fuck? Hold on. Wait. Fuck! Hold on. I'm getting a screenshot. But I have to do it while it's playing so that the... Yeah, that's good enough. Fuck it.
that they're doing the very same. So the question is, what's behind the shift? Here to discuss is DNC National Finance Committee member Lindy Lee. You know, it's interesting because I think a lot of people are saying they're trying to get ahead of what could be more regulatory restrictions on them and maybe a bit of a microscope on their operations. What do you think's behind all this?
Kevin, it's great to be with you.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, the Democratic Party has a stench of loser written all over the party, and I'm sorry. And I'm speaking as a Democrat myself. This brings me no joy to say it, but I feel like the Democrats are going to be consigned.
Brings me no joy to say it as I'm smiling and excited for my wonderful media appearance where I get to shit on my Democratic Party and be loved and worshipped by everybody on the right for saying it.
To the wilderness for at least the next 4 to 8 years. And Jeff Bezos is probably thanking his lucky stars that he withheld that endorsement. And they're doing everything they can now to continue the détente. Remember what Zuckerberg said on July 13th when in Butler, Pennsylvania, there was an assassination attempt. He praised President Trump for being a badass.
Let me ask you about this idea of going out there and sort of kissing the ring. I mean, you have Zuckerberg.
Wow, she sounds so regretful. It sounds so agonizing to her that she had to say that.
Remember what Zuckerberg said on July 13th when in Butler, Pennsylvania, there was an assassination attempt. He praised President Trump for being a badass.
Let me ask you about this idea of going out there and sort of kissing the ring. I mean, you have Zuckerberg doing his thing, Bezos. And by the way, I was really surprised that he decided to stay out of the fray and not let the Post do that. But as it turns out, it was a pretty shrewd move. What do you expect will happen when they go there and they have these conversations?
I think they're going to solidify the relationship between the business world and President Trump. And right now, the economy is ailing under the Biden-Harris administration. I mean, people are just ailing. They're suffering. Yes, inflation has come down, but cumulative price hikes are still eating away at people's pocketbooks. And people
What are you going to do about cumulative prices? Is Trump's not going to do anything about it. Trump's already said he's probably not going to be able to bring prices down, but they won't care.
Dying for a change. So I think we're about to embark on an entirely new era of prosperity. I certainly hope so. And yeah, you can just feel it. Even in the last couple of weeks, Americans are celebrating that Trump's approval rating is incredibly high. People are in support of his transition.
What are the numbers on this? What are people citing when they say his approval rating is incredibly high?
The momentum is just tremendous. And I'm speaking as a Democrat, and I'm feeling it as well.
Well, you know what? Also, as a Democrat.
I'm speaking as a Democrat.
You probably could acknowledge that the party seems to have been given, let's just say it for what it is, a bit of an edge, especially as it relates to Google. You know, the way that they manage their search engines. You're going to have their CEO go over there to Mar-a-Lago and basically try to state his case. How concerned do you think that
That's a member of the DNC? Yep. She was on the, she was either on or she was the chair of the Finance Committee. Hold on. Oh, wait, is that not true? No, wait. She was born in China. That doesn't mean anything, though. I'm seeing ghosts or zebras or something. She served on the... Oh, no, wait. As the woman's co-chair and Mid-Atlantic regional chair at the Democratic National Committee. Okay, so I'm sure this probably goes up and down for regional stuff, but yeah, she's part of the DNC.
Tech giants might be of a Trump presidency moving forward. Especially, I understand if you're a Democrat, you're probably like, hey, great, we've gotten sort of the brakes, as it were. How concerned, though, should they be about a Trump presidency?
I think the tech world is loving the fact that Donald Trump's going to be the next president. Really? He's really embraced crypto, and he's saying that he wants the United States to be the crypto capital of the world. In the meantime, Biden and Harris, they're clamping down on crypto, and it's a booming industry. People are upset. You know, this is their livelihood.
Yeah. Booming industry. Crypto. Super booming. Oh, my God. Oh, and they'll accuse Democrats of being out of touch with the common Americans when they talk about how important crypto is as an industry. Fucking kill me.
In the meantime, Biden and Harris, they're clamping down on crypto, and it's a booming industry. People are upset. You know, this is their livelihood. Yeah. Not to mention TikTok. You have all the millennials out there, you know, very, very upset.
Well, it's interesting that it sounds to me like there's this shift. We tend to think of big tech, especially in financial tech, as being sort of right, or make that left-leaning. Is there a shift to the right happening organically?
Kevin, that's such a great point. I don't think it's just the business world. I think it's across the country. People are fed up, and they realize that Biden and Harris, they lied to us for the past 4 years about the cognitive state of our president, and they failed on immigration. The expiration of Title 42 was the original sin. Millions of migrants poured into the country, and I am a naturalized immigrant myself.
Didn't the Supreme Court reject them bringing back Title 42? Title 42, I thought they tried to. Am I wrong on this? Beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government began relying on a public health law known as Title 42 to quickly expel migrants seeking asylum. The Mexico and Canada borders on Thursday afternoon, the Supreme Court dismissed a dispute over that policy and whether a group of states with Republican attorneys general can step in to defend it. The justices sent the case Arizona v. Mayorkas is back to the lower courts. The district dismissed the state's request as moot. That is no longer a live controversy after the policy itself expired on May 11th. Justice Gorsuch penned an 8-page statement regarding Thursday's order in which he complained not only that any crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border was not related to the COVID-19 crisis, but also about COVID restrictions and the government's efforts to exercise emergency powers more broadly. Okay.
Right. Happening organically?
Kevin, that's such a great point. I don't think it's just the business world. I think it's across the country. People are fed up and they realize that Biden and Harris, they lied to us for the past 4 years about the cognitive state of our president, and they failed on immigration. The expiration of Title 42 was the original sin. Millions of migrants poured in the country, and I am a naturalized immigrant myself. I'm speaking as an immigrant. My family and I came here with $200. We never took a handout. We waited in line. We followed all the rules.
Did that? Wait, damn. I thought I read that she went to Princeton. Maybe she just had really good grades? Lindy Lee? They moved to Sheffield, England at age 3, and then immigrated with her family to the United States when she was 5. That's a lot of moving around. She attended the Agnes Irwin School, a private college prep day school for girls, graduated in 2008. Her father's a real estate executive. Lee has a younger brother named Jeffrey. In high school, Lee interned for Pennsylvania Congressman and 2020 presidential candidate Joe Sestak. Lee attended Princeton University and was elected class president at age 17. She became the first woman at Princeton to hold the position of class president for all 4 years. She wrote her senior thesis on the ethics of climate change legislation and graduated in 2012 with a philosophy degree. Okay. Lee previously served as the treasurer for the Pennsylvania Young Democrats from 2017 to 2020. She resigned the post after conflict with group leaders over her Twitter posts critical of Bernie Sanders and his supporters. Lee alleged her resignation was a real-life example of bullying by Bernie bros. The club president denied this, saying that her resignation was voluntary. After the 2020 Super Tuesday primary elections, Lee appeared on Al Jazeera to debate Sanders supporter Linda Sarsour concerning which Democrat would be best to defeat Donald Trump. During this interview, Lee stated that she would not vote for Bernie Sanders if he became the Democratic nominee. Jesus. Alongside Aftab Pureval, the mayor of Cincinnati, Ohio, Lee co-chairs the Justice Unites a Super PAC, a multi-million-dollar political action committee that focuses specifically on increasing Asian American turnout across the country, particularly in battleground states. What did you say? My dad came here with $200 in his pocket? What, because the rest was in his bank account?
A shift to the right happening organically?
Kevin, that's such a great point. I don't think it's just the business world. I think it's across the country. People are fed up and they realize that Biden and Harris, they lied to us for the past 4 years about the cognitive state of our president, and they failed on immigration. The expiration of Title 42 was the original sin. Millions of migrants poured in the country, and I am a naturalized immigrant myself. I'm speaking as an immigrant. My family and I came here with $200. We never took a handout. We waited in line. We followed all the rules. So for immigrants like me who became naturalized Americans, proud and grateful Americans, it's extremely upsetting that people are just flooding into the country willy-nilly.
So it's a
Came here, we followed all the rules. How did they immigrate so fast? Or were they, I don't even know what the line is or how long that would even take if they had no family here. Because they moved to England when they were 3, when she was 3, and then they managed to immigrate to the US when she was 5. Oh, they don't have too much background here. It would technically be even harder for her to get into those schools too, right? Because don't Asian people get fucked in test scores and shit? Or at least they used to. Jesus. Okay, whatever.
You said in an interview last month, because of the experiences you've had online, in particular with some Bernie supporters, you said that if he were to become the Democratic nominee, you said you would not vote for him.
Absolutely not.
So that means you would be voting Trump, sitting at home?
I'm going to vote blue all the way down, except for president.
So you're okay with a second Trump term?
I'm absolutely not okay with it, but I'm also almost probably equally terrified and traumatized by the prospect of a Sanders presidency right now.
So it's But to the point where you would be okay with a Trump second term?
I'm not okay with it.
Well, by definition, you would be if you
I'm fighting
didn't.
like hell to make sure that Biden is a nominee. So
Except that I'm asking the hypothetical, which I will also ask Linda. If it is Bernie Sanders as a nominee, you will not vote for him,
No,
even
I'm
if it means a
not
Trump
going to.
second term. Okay. Linda, are you a Bernie or bust, as some people on the left say? Is it Bernie Sanders or no one else for you?
So this is the translation of what I got from what Lindy just said, is that she doesn't care that Donald Trump will be able to appoint Supreme Court justices over his next 4 years and literally take us back maybe 50 to 100 years. So that's what you're saying, 4 years, and literally take us back for court justices over his next 4 years and literally take us back maybe 50 to 100 years. So that's what you're saying, because you're saying that.
But what is your view, Linda? Linda, what is your view? Are you Bernie or bust, as the saying goes?
I've never been Bernie or bust. I'm not going to lie to you. I might have drew the line at Michael Bloomberg, but I know what's more important. It's not about my little feelings. It's not about being selfish and self-righteous. It's about protecting our communities and protecting generations to come. And I would hope that someone like Lindy would be part of that movement, but I guess she's not.
But just to be clear, you would vote for Joe Biden if he's the candidate come November?
It would be very hard for me, Mehdi, but I would do the right thing. But I would do the right thing, because that is the right thing to do.
Okay. All right, sorry, back to this.
The rightward shift, both in tech and other areas too. Lindy Lee, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate your time this morning.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Okay. Anyway.